With only hours left before his execution, his final request wasn't for a last meal or a phone call. It was to see his dog one last time. But what happened next would silence the prison, freeze the guards, and unravel a truth buried for years. That morning, the air inside the penitentiary felt heavier, as if the very walls knew what was coming. Every sound, the clink of keys, the echo of boots on concrete, carried a weight that pressed down on everyone inside. In his cell, Marcus sat on the edge of his cot, hands loosely clasped, eyes fixed on the cold floor. He wasn't the same man who had walked in 7 years ago. Time and regret had carved deep lines into his face, softening the once sharp defiance in his eyes. The guards expected the usual last request. A steak dinner, a call to family, maybe a final letter. But when the warden asked, Marcus's voice was low, steady. "I want to see Ranger, my dog." A pause. Some guards exchanged glances. A condemned man choosing a dog over people. Unheard of. But for Marcus, Ranger wasn't just a pet. He was the only one who had stood by him before the arrest, before the trial, before the world turned its back. In his final hours, he didn't want forgiveness from strangers. He just wanted to look into the eyes that had never judged him. The warden leaned back, fingers steepled. He'd seen strange last requests. Ice cream, a guitar, a priest who didn't show. But bringing a dog into a maximum security prison on execution day? Never. In the control room, officers debated. "It's a security risk," one said. "We've never allowed an animal in here, especially for a death row inmate." An older officer, quieter, spoke up. "Ranger is all he has left. No visitors, no letters, no one." He paused. "Maybe we should let him go in peace." The warden requested the file. Marcus's record was clean. No fights. No infractions. No escape attempts. And in the personal notes, owned a German shepherd named Ranger for 8 years. Dog seized at time of arrest. After a long silence, the warden nodded. Under strict supervision. Yard only. 10 minutes. Word spread fast. Some guards shook their heads. Others whispered about the bond between a man and his dog. For Marcus, those 10 minutes were an eternity. The prison yard stood still as the far gate creaked open. Marcus stood a few feet from a lone chair, wrists cuffed loosely in front of him, eyes locked on the entrance. Then he saw him. Ranger trotted in, his black and tan coat gleaming under the pale morning light. 2 officers flanked him, leash taut, but it was clear Ranger had already spotted his men. His ears shot forward. His tail began to wag, slow at first, then faster, like a metronome finding its rhythm. Marcus's breath caught. Years had passed, but nothing, the gray in the muzzle, the stiffness in the legs, could disguise the dog he'd raised from a pup. The officers glanced at the warden. A single nod. The leash slackened. Ranger surged forward. Marcus dropped to his knees just as the dog slammed into his chest, pressing his head into Marcus's shoulder, whining, a sound caught between joy and grief. For a moment, the prison vanished. No countdown. No death order. Just a man and his dog reunited. Marcus buried his face in the thick fur, breathing in the scent. Old leather. Earth. Home. Then Ranger froze. His body went rigid. Tail stopped mid-wag. Ears pivoted. A deep, guttural growl rumbled from his chest. Marcus felt it before he heard it. Ranger wasn't looking at him anymore. His gaze was locked on a man standing 10 feet away. Officer Caldwell. Tall. Stiff. Hands clasped behind his back. The growl deepened. Teeth flashed in a silent warning. Guards shifted uneasily. "Control your dog," one muttered. But Marcus placed a hand on Ranger's back. "Easy, boy," he whispered. It wasn't okay. Ranger had never growled like this without reason. Caldwell avoided eye contact, jaw tight. For the first time that morning, curiosity stirred in Marcus's chest. Officer Torres, a guard who had always treated Marcus with quiet respect, approached. "Your dog's got a good nose," he said low. "What's his problem with Caldwell?" Marcus shrugged. "Ranger doesn't growl at strangers for fun." Torres frowned. "Funny thing. Caldwell was on duty the night you were arrested. But he never reported it." The words hung heavy. As if summoned, Caldwell reappeared at the far end of the yard. Ranger's growl returned, sharp and unrelenting. "That's not normal," Torres muttered. The warden called down from the tower. "What's going on?" No one answered. Later that afternoon, the warden summoned Marcus to a small interview room. Ranger was allowed to stay, eyes fixed on the door. Torres stood in the corner. Caldwell stood across from them. "Why didn't you disclose you were on site the night of the arrest?" the warden asked. "Didn't think it mattered," Caldwell said. "I was off duty." Ranger barked, sharp, sudden. Torres stepped forward. "Funny, because a witness just came forward. Saw a man matching your description leaving Marcus's house before police arrived." The warden's voice hardened. "We're reopening the case. Effective immediately, the execution is delayed." Hope rushed back into Marcus's lungs. The investigation moved fast. Fingerprints didn't match Marcus. They matched Caldwell. Weeks later, Caldwell was arrested. Charged with the same murder. The charges against Marcus were dropped. The prison gates opened. And waiting there, just beyond the fence, was Ranger. Marcus dropped to his knees, burying his face in the fur. "We made it, boy. No cuffs. No guards. Just open sky." He wasn't the man defined by a sentence. He was the man his dog had believed in all along. And thanks to that loyalty, he had a second chance to live.